Hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, cheercharge.co.uk.
Great tasting flapjack cheer bars. You can use the code COT10 for 10% off.
precisionhydration.com.
Leaders in triathlete sweat testing and hydration with multi-strength electrolytes that match how you sweat. There's a 15% off code, Cup of Tri 15.
Awesome. And Team Oxygen Addict.
Online triathlon coaching featuring event-specific training plans and coaching guidance from Rob Wilby.
And also give a shout out to our patrons who help us out by donating money for the show every week. Thanks very much for doing that, guys. Watch out for more patrons news coming soon, and our special patrons only podcast is in production, isn't it, Hells?
It is in production,
in
correct.
production. We've got some secret stuff on the way. And hello, Helen Murray. How are you today, my friend?
Hello, Rob Wilby. I'm good. The alarm went off this morning. I was thinking, shall I go and do that recovery swim? I thought, no, I'm going to get the sleep and get the recovery. These big words appear like rest day, and I'm thinking I'm going to do that today.
Good for you. A nice snoozy lion, was it?
Well, not much for snoozy lion, but I just thought, no, I'm not gonna bust myself to go and get to the pool when actually a rest and recovery would be more beneficial.
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on, actually, in Coach's Couch, I think, in terms of winter training tips. But you're dead right. I think you've got to take your year and have a period of time where you go, you know what? I don't need to be at the pool this morning first thing. I'm going to take a step back from it and mentally periodise your year as well as physically periodise it, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I was working at the weekend, and sometimes I find it it's almost like I forget that actually if I have a day off sometimes in the week because I work at the weekend, actually other people at the weekend might have an extra half an hour in bed, so it's okay if I do that on a day off, if that makes sense. It's really weird, but it's the psychology of it all. It's all fun.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Your Monday today was your day off, but because it's not the weekend, you don't feel like you can have a lie in. You feel like you've got to get up and do the recovery swim.
Exactly.
It's worth a note to self. Well, I went to bed early last night because I was really tired. I was in bed at 11:15. My next door neighbour started setting off fireworks at 11 o'clock. Thanks for that.
Nice.
So I've been asleep for about 8 minutes, I reckon. Woke up and, you know when someone's like pressed reset on your body? I was like, okay, so now I'm completely wide awake, having had 8 minutes sleep. So I was up till about 1:30 this morning, just kind of sleep. No.
That often happens to me. Do you find yourself dribbling though after those 8 minutes?
There was a lot of dribbling going on, yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Which means you must have been in a really, really deep sleep for about 2 minutes.
8 minutes worth of Homer Simpson sleep, that was it, definitely.
Yeah. And then, boop, awake.
Oh dear, yeah. I think I'm going to fall asleep in about an hour and a half's time, Hals. We'll see how we go, hey.
Oh, a few hours left of the day yet.
Yeah, I got up and had a nice early morning run this morning, which was nice, ran in the sunshine.
Oh, it was stunning out there today.
Yeah, it was yesterday as well. It was cold here yesterday, though.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Go on, sorry.
Tears. I was going to say I was nearly in tears, Rob, over the weekend with my stupid hands. I went for a bike ride.
Oh, did you have the old Raynaud's hands again?
Oh, God. After an hour and a half, I was like, oh, my left hand's starting to be cold. And then we did about just over 2 hours. And by that point, I really could not feel my left hand. And then I got back inside. And obviously that's when the blood, doesn't start returning to the fingers, but probably is. And I was just wanting to cry. I was like, this is so painful. This is horrible.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it? Windsurfers used to call that the hot aches. That's what they used to call it. If you go windsurfing in the wintertime when it's freezing cold, your hands go numb and then they go like burning hot. And it sounds like that's exactly what you have when your feeling comes back together.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I can get in the shower and they can still be completely white, even though I'm in a hot shower.
Is there nothing you can get in terms of, did he make, I don't know, battery-powered gloves or something that could be warmed up?
You can definitely. I need to. In fact,
we need to look at this for you, don't we? That'd be the best thing you could invest in, hey?
I'm going to get some hand warmers. And then you can get medication.
But they made them for motorcyclists, Hells, I'm sure.
What
like
battery-powered?
Battery-powered heated gloves.
Oh my God, I'm all over that.
Yeah, we need to look into it for you. And maybe there's a listener out there who's a motorcyclist who'll be able to give you a recommendation over Twitter. That'd be awesome.
Please let me know. I'm bored of cold hands.
Yeah. So we'll come to that in Coach's Couch. There's some stuff about winter later on, isn't there? And we'll mention that then.
Yes, and
It sounds
I've
like you.
found some tips actually, so I should give myself these tips.
Well, you definitely need something more than one of those little hand warmer things in your gloves, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Right, come on, let's jump into the meat of our podcast, shall we? Let's talk about some results from the weekend.
Yes.
Let's do that.
It's
So, our results are sponsored by Precision Hydration, and we've got an announcement to make. Hells, do you want to announce the winner of the competition?
Yep, I'm going to say that congratulations, Amanda Benstead from Woking.
You have won a personalised sweat test worth £95. So Precision Hydration will be in contact with you to arrange where you're going to meet up and have that done. So great news that. Get the old sweat tested and know exactly how much electrolytes you're losing during your racing and training. I've had to have some this week, Helen. I've been getting cramps in the night.
Really?
Yeah, I realised that this is going to sound really stupid. We ran out of salt in the house, so I didn't have any salt on my food for probably 4 or 5 days. And being as salty as I am,
Mm.
I ended up just waking up in the night with my calves locked solid, and I couldn't work out because I was thinking, not like I've been doing loads of training. And I think it was that, just like a lack of sodium coming in, and just doing any kind of exercise, getting these hideous sweat cramps. So I hit a few of the sachets during the week, and they went away. So I'm convinced the magic.
So, Rob, you know how some people go to bed with a glass of water? Do you now go to bed with a glass of Precision Hydration?
Yeah. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But I do.
Yeah. Love
Oh
it.
dear. All right, so congratulations, Amanda Benstead from Woking. Let's go over. Where should we go first? Should we go to the New York Marathon?
Oh, yes, let's do that because I think this is pretty awesome indeed. Because our Olympic triathlon champion, Gwen Jorgensen, was making her marathon debut in New York at the weekend. Now, I had read somewhere that it was going to be her longest run ever. I think she got up to about 16 miles. And if we think about it, she had only just won the Island House Triathlon. She'd obviously won Olympic gold, not that long ago in Rio. So then to be able to bang out a marathon as well just shows how much of a quality athlete she is.
Well, look, they said in the article, and I was reading this beforehand and thinking, are they kind of sandbagging? Are they sort of saying, well, she's not done the training for it, and she's just done a triathlon last week, and she was actually going to rock up and go like 2:26 or something. But it looks like she genuinely hadn't done a run longer than, it says here in this article, 12 miles was her longest run in the build-up to it. So you'd hope it was a bit longer than that, wouldn't you, if you're going to go and do a marathon?
Yeah. Yep. Well, do you think she would have? So it says here, leading up to the Rio Games, her longest ever training run was 12 miles. But I think she had done a longer run at some point between those Olympics and, this weekend
Yeah,
running in New York.
You would certainly have hoped so, wouldn't you? Yeah, leading up to the Rio Games, her longest run was 12 miles. She must have done something longer than that in the run up to the marathon, mustn't she?
Well, yeah, honestly, I'd read it was 16. So
Right. Even so, it's 10 miles
10
more. It's a
miles
long way
short.
to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking as a
Yeah.
man who's done a few marathons off a 16-mile long run, it wasn't pretty.
Oh, but the thing is, okay, so we haven't actually said what time she did it in yet.
Go
So
on.
she still did it in 2:41, wasn't it?
Yeah, so a very, very solid time.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Really quite amazing. And I think for the first half, I think she did it in 1:15 or something.
really.
And then, yeah. Yep.
So she ran basically not quite with the leaders, but she really put it in over the first half. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what you'd expect, isn't it, for an athlete who is fast over 10k and half marathon, but who
Yeah.
hasn't done the preparation. They're going to find the pace to the halfway point pretty cruisy, and
Yeah.
then it's the last 6 to 8 miles that are really, really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is, but you get the sense, don't you, that she wasn't quite as happy with it as, do you think she was hoping to go faster?
I I don't know.
It says
But
she couldn't help but be a bit subdued by the result. Not having done as much work as I should have done, it's hard to have a strategy. I did have a lot of respect for the distance and the other athletes, but for me to just jump into a marathon without proper training and just expect it to do well is a bit naive. I'm happy I was able to finish. So, yeah, good on her. I think doing
I
your
think
first
good on her.
marathon
Here you go, Rob. I've got here 10k splits. So,
Go on.
first 10k in 36 minutes and
Solid.
5 seconds.
Yeah, that's a
Second
550 mile in.
10k in 35 minutes and 33 seconds.
Oh, golly.
Third 10k, 38 minutes 36.
Yeah.
And the fourth 10k in 40 minutes and 55 seconds.
So bit of a fade, but nothing catastrophic.
Not drastic, is it? Really?
No. 20 seconds a mile from the second 10k to the third 10k. Is maths right on that?
Yeah. Personally,
Yeah.
I'd say she
30
is a
seconds a mile,
machine.
maybe. Yeah. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it, to see how fast she could go if she trained specifically for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Talented athlete.
Amazing. Amazing. So yeah, congratulations and chapeau Gwen Jorgensen, 14th at the New York City Marathon.
Good stuff. Right, where should we go next? Should we go to Brazil?
Yeah, let's go to Rio de Janeiro.
I love your pronunciation. I love it, Helen.
Yeah, Rio. So in Rio, in Brazil, it was Ironman 70.3 Rio. And there were a lot of Brazilians on that start list, Rob.
Sure were. Was it in a similar place to where the Olympic triathlon was held?
I would have to
Location?
double check and let you know on that one.
There we go. But wins were taken out for this one by was Ronaldo Colucci. Took the men's race out, didn't he?
Yep, he did in 3:55 and 12 seconds ahead of Paulo Roberto Maciel da Silva. And then third Brazilian was Luis Francisco Paiva Ferreira.
Loving the pronunciation again.
Thanks.
Can I have a go at the ladies' results? See how my pronunciation is.
Go on.
So it's Luisa Baptista takes the win in 4:29, Romina Palacio in 4:33, and Carol Farilia in 4:35. How did I do?
I'd probably just change Carol Ferreira, probably.
Yeah, is it
But very good. Muito bem.
Carol? You think Carol Farilia?
Carol Ferreira.
Ah, Farilia. Okay.
For a double R, is it like a H sound?
Ah, right. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
Bit of Spanish lessons as we go along as well.
Portuguese, Spanish.
Portuguese, Spanish, yeah.
Portuñol. Yep, so there we go. That was Rio 70.3.
And over in the USA, big race over there, isn't it? Really, the Ironman Florida. It's a hugely popular age group race. They don't have a pro race there anymore. And before the advent of Ironman Barcelona, I think it was arguably the fastest sort of Ironman branded triathlon course, probably in the world, I think.
Wow.
So they don't have a pro race there anymore. Now, having said that it's the fastest race, the times, they don't look as quick as certainly loads of the age group times that came from Barcelona. So I don't know whether the conditions there were a bit tougher this year than they were usually. But in the past it's been the place where the pros would roll up and they would go very, very close to going sub 8 hours on that course. Now, not having a pro race there, the age groupers, the win was taken out by Jack McAfee in 8:48.15. Second place was Tim Holer in 8:48.57, and then Eduardo Delia Magoria in third from Chile in 8:58.22. So 30 seconds between first and second, Hells. Do you know what I'm wondering? I'm wondering if it's a rolling start issue.
Oh.
So I wonder whether that's the kind of thing where, I mean, it's easily conceivable, isn't it, that that's going to affect the overall who crosses the line first deal.
It could be, couldn't it?
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. 2,500 athletes. They've gone with it as a global strategy now, haven't they, the rolling start?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know if anybody raced, any of the listeners raced Florida, if that was the case, whether Jack McAfee crossed the line first or whether it was like a staggered finish kind of thing.
Could have been, couldn't it? I don't know. Don't know the answer to that one, Rob.
Wonder whether it's the first case because there's not many just age group races where
No.
someone's running down the chute with their arms in the air to take the win in inverted commas, and maybe they actually weren't the overall winner.
You'd be gutted, wouldn't
You'd
you?
be gutted, totally. Yeah. It's bad enough with you, isn't it, at Ironman UK with someone who we think is behind you is actually in front of you by a few seconds. But imagine if it was for the overall win.
It's not good, is it?
They've got to do something about it, haven't they?
Mm.
So let us know if you race Florida or you know somebody who did. Give us a tweet at Cup of Try and let us know what the results were. Ladies' results. How's have you got them up, or do you want me to do them?
No, I've got them up here.
Cool.
Right, so Mary Laure Lux of Belgium took the win in 9:47 ahead of Erin Humsey of the USA. And then, Rob, Rachel Hall was third of Great Britain. Now, I think, though I might have this very wrong, I was just trying to check. I think Rachel Hall is a member of Manchester Tri.
Is that right?
I think she might be.
Good call.
Yeah, she's from Manchester, and I reckon she's a Man Tri athlete.
Right, well, if you know Rachel, get her to get in touch then. We need to hear all about that, don't we?
Oh,
Somebody
we do.
from the local area will know her, won't they?
Yeah.
That's a great result, 10:02.
And I think Rachel Hall, if it's the same Rachel Hall, I think she's the one who often wins Wilmslow.
Oh, yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Right, we'll track her down. She's on the list.
I'm going to try and find out a little bit more.
Imagine the poor woman's just flying back from Florida right now and is going to get greeted by an email from us going, "We want you on the show."
Yeah, brilliant result though, 10:02.
Yeah, that's solid, isn't it?
Mm.
Very, very good. Right, so next up, should we do Coach's Couch next?
Yes, let's do that. So we have had a question in, Rob, from David Irwin.
Yep.
Who says, any tips for winter training outside on the bike? Winter bike, like get a winter bike or just wrap up really warm. And he says that fingers and toes are a problem for him.
Well, you're the person to ask about fingers and toes, I think, Hels, aren't you? You're the expert. I'll give my advice on fingers and toes, and then let's see what you've come up with. The thing that I always go with is, firstly, you've got to get your kit right if you're going to be riding all the way through the winter. So you need a really good set of insulated and or waterproof overshoes for sure. That's something you need to get sorted out, and they can make such a massive difference. I also go with, those like 2 for £1 hand warmer things that you kind of crack the thing inside and it goes really hot. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I take those out with me in my back pocket, and after an hour or so I take them out, crack them and slide them in between my shoe and the shoe cover, so they kind of sit on top of my toes. So that's always been my solution for when it's really cold on the feet. And in terms of gloves, I think you've just got to go with a really good pair of insulated or even double-lined Gore-Tex ski gloves or snowboarding gloves. And if you get a decent pair, unless you suffer like Helen does, you can usually keep your hands and your toes pretty comfortable like that. I go with merino wool socks on the bike. They're a massive bonus for keeping your feet warm. And then in terms of other stuff, I would say the key kit for winter is you've got to have a skull cap to go on underneath your helmet. You've got to have some kind of buff that you can pull up over your nose, and that in itself can go a long way to kind of keeping your body warm, because just by having it up over your nose, that'll warm up your face. And the gilet, the kind of little zip up, windproof on the front and ventilated on the back gilets, Hells.
Yep.
I absolutely have one of those with me all the time. So I'll go out layered up, wearing thermal top underneath, winter jacket, and then have the gilet over the top of that. And then what I find is if I get a bit hot, take the gilet off, stick it in the back pocket, and if it's cold, I'll also have my rain jacket with me, and that will go on over the top, because it's got to be pretty cold for you to actually get cold riding wearing a decent Gore-Tex Packlight cycling rain jacket. So those are my tips in terms of clothing. Have you got anything to add to that from your experience as a Raynaud sufferer?
Yeah, so I think the hand warmers are really good.
Do you put those in your gloves, like in your palms, or do you have them on like the back of your hands in terms of like grabbing the brakes?
The time
and
I've
stuff?
tried them, I had them by my palms.
Okay.
But to be honest, I just think I need about 5 of them in
Yeah.
each glove, probably. A few tips here would be make sure you're warm before you even go outside. So, stick your gloves on the radiator, have a hot drink, just do something to make sure you are warm before you get out there. Stick your socks on the radiator.
Oh, that's a nice tip. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. You've already mentioned your head, but obviously we lose a load of heat from our head, so keeping your head warm is really, really key. Layering your gloves can be another option. So a really, really thin, like
Yeah.
a thin silk or merino wool liner. So then that's right next to your skin, and then a sort of like insulating bigger glove over the top, which might be wind or waterproof as well. But you do need to have enough flexibility to be able to pull your brakes, change gears, that kind of thing. And again, if they're too tight, then that can restrict the blood flow. Also, just making sure that the cuffs come up high enough on your wrists, so then you're not getting a gap where water can go through or the wind can go through right on your wrists. I don't know if this is true, Rob, but double wrapping your bar tape might apparently it could be psychological, but having an extra layer of bar tape
Will keep your hands warm.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Not heard that before.
Yep, so you could try it.
It'll certainly give you less vibration through the bars, which may help with blood circulation. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. The other thing I do try and do is just keep moving my hands.
Yeah.
Rather than just always having them on the bars in one position, just try to keep moving them. And then I think it would be really interesting actually to get the Precision Hydration, their take on this one, Rob. But it's obviously really important to keep eating and drinking in winter.
Yeah.
Because we need to keep our bodies warm. And we got back from our ride on Saturday, and I noticed that I think I had a fair amount of my bottle on a 2-hour ride, but my top was absolutely sodden so I had sweated a load, but because it's cold, you sort of don't really think about it as much, do you? Someone else's bottle, who I won't name names, they hadn't drunk anything.
Yep. Yeah,
so
I think that's quite common when it's cold. You don't feel thirsty, but you definitely can get in that position where you get hot, you sweat, you get cold, you get hot, you sweat, but don't feel like drinking because it's, I think it's a human reaction to being cold, isn't it? You just don't feel as thirsty. Yeah, that's a very good point.
So an idea, Rob, is that you could try to use an insulated bottle with a hot drink in it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you should definitely go with that. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Hot tea as you're riding, hot toddy.
It'd be amazing.
Helen's winter hot toddy. And in terms of like David's question about shall I get a winter bike, I think that's a separate question, but the answer is definitely yes. If you're going to ride all the way through the winter outside and you've got a nice summer bike, I'd say definitely have one that you can go out on. It's got full mud guards on that you don't have to worry about totally cleaning every time you go out, because basically the months between November and February you're just going to get covered in salty clag all over your bike every time you go out, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, Rob, the other thing is, we had Lionel Sanders on the show, didn't we, who said he so rarely rides outside that actually, and you said this before, doing a lot of riding on the turbo over the winter is not a bad thing.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's really good. I think he's one of the main, apart from me, he's one of the main proponents that's changed people's thinking about training on the turbo, because a lot of my mates from the cycling days still give me grief about, you're such a lightweight training on the turbo, as if it's like a thing that's worse than going outdoors. And it was viewed as that, certainly by traditional cyclists. A lot of them have this view it's somehow taking the easy way out. But yeah, we've definitely proved this idea that if Lionel Sanders can get himself to his level by doing loads of focused work on the turbo, it's definitely good enough for the rest of us. So there's no reason you've got to go outside and ride during the winter time if the weather's horrible. If you've got yourself a really well structured training plan, then you can train indoors, and certainly if you're following my training plans, it's not an easy way out, is it?
No, and I did think when I came home on Saturday, as I said before, I was nearly in tears. I just thought, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
I would, like it was just so painful with the cold hands, and I just sort of think, just stick me on the turbo. though
Yeah,
though the
yeah, yeah.
beautiful, sunny, cold, crisp winter day, it was stunning being out there, but oh, I find it very painful.
Hells, I was standing outside a leisure centre in North Wales examining British Triathlon Federation coach candidates for one of their coach education courses. The van computer said 3.5 degrees as I parked up in the morning, and I had every item of clothing on that I owned as I was standing there with a clipboard watching people do running drills, and oh,
Just
it was
makes me
heartbreaking.
makes me shiver. Rob, the other thing that is could be worth looking into as well for your winter bike. We mentioned them last winter. Topflaps.co.uk. Custom bicycle flaps that keep grit out of teeth.
Yeah, or buy a real pair of mud guards.
Hey,
Oh,
have both.
cool. Right, let's do our interview. I'm excited for this one. Interview of the week this week, Helen. Who have you lined up for us?
So this week's interview is with Jane Hansom, the World Age Group Ironman champion. She won this year. She is coached by Brett Sutton. She didn't used to be this super duper incredible age group athlete. As you'll hear in the interview, she actually used to smoke. She used to do a lot of socializing with clients. Didn't really do much exercise in her 20s and 30s. So she's now sort of late 40s, and she is uber amazing. So it was
Isn't it
great to chat to Jane.
amazing? Yeah, ex-smoker turns Ironman world champion. I love this. It's brilliant. All right, here we go. Here's our interview with Jane Hansom.
Jane Hansom, hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm thrilled to be on, actually.
Yeah, sorry, it has taken a while to actually get you on. We should have got you on about this time last year, but it didn't ever happen. So huge apologies for that.
Oh, no, not at all. This is great.
Well, it's really, really good to get you on, Jane, because I think everybody is going to be interested in your story, and I think we will all be able to learn a couple of things from you. So, first of all, you only did your first triathlon in 2011, is that right?
That's right. Very first one. I think it was the test, Olympic kind of test triathlon down at Hyde Park. And it was a little sprint distance, and I had no idea what to expect. I remember I bought a bike from eBay. It was a fabulous bike. It was 400 quid, and the only reason I bought it was because it looked it looked good, and it was being sold by a guy who basically lived around the corner for me. But subsequently, I then realised it was totally the wrong size. It was like two sizes too big. But anyway, I did this race, and it was fabulous. I won it, and overall, I was the first lady.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. And yeah, so then I kind of decided that I would keep going.
So that would have been, you would have done your first one like mid 40s?
Yeah, I'm 47 now. And that's 6 years ago. Yeah, so yeah, 41.
So had you done much swimming, much biking, much running in your 20s or 30s?
No, zero. So the story is that when I was at school, I was a swimmer. I swam for the Scottish schools, and I did cross country running. And I kind of did it for a bit when I went to university. I think I did it in the first year. I kept on swimming, but then, everything kind of went by the wayside, and I kind of gave up sport completely. And then all through my 20s and 30s, well, I travelled around the world for a couple of years. Then I got a job in a big ad agency. And I ended up doing zero sport, seriously, like zero sport. I mean, I was incredibly unhealthy. I was out entertaining clients every night. Most of them were drinks clients. I looked after the Allied Domec account, and that involved a lot of drinking and entertaining, and I was a bit fat actually. I was like 3 stone heavier than I am now. I was pretty unfit, very bad lifestyle. And then when I was 40, my clients at Sony PlayStation insisted that I ran the London Marathon with them because they had 5 Golden Bond places. And after putting up a massive fight and refusing about 5 times, they absolutely insisted. They pulled the kind of, but you're our agency card. You have to do this with us. So then, do you know what? I just knuckled. I decided I wasn't getting out of it. You know, I'd already tried and they were pretty insistent. And so I just kind of knuckled down. And then within about 6 months, I towed the line of the London Marathon, 3 stone lighter, almost a size 0, and, you know, ready to go.
Wow. So you lost the 3 stone in that 6 months in the build up to the London Marathon.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So what had you changed? Did you get anyone to help you with a plan in that at that time, or did you just sort of think, you know what, I don't know, very, very late 30s, very early 40s. I don't have the healthiest of lifestyles. Right, this is it. This is going to be the change, and I'm going to start right now.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it just came at the right time. I kind of like looked in the mirror at the time and I just thought, oh, do you know what? You don't look great either. You know, you probably could do with losing weight. And I had watched the marathon the year before, and I remember watching Jordan pitifully crawl round in about 7 hours. And I thought, oh, good God, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm not going to do it like that. So I kind of Googled how to do this. And I eventually, it sounds really stupid, but I came across this book called 4 months to a 4-hour marathon. And I'd kind of convinced myself that 4 hours sounded like a reasonable time to do a marathon. So I thought, okay, I'm going to buy that book and I'm just going to follow it. And do you know what? That's exactly what I did. It said on the front cover that if Oprah Winfrey did it, and I thought, well, if she can do it, then I can. If she can do it, then I can do it.
And did you enjoy all of the training, or did you find it blooming hard work? Because to go from nothing to then training for a marathon, it takes a shed load of dedication, and you've got to want to do it.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Well, initially it was hard because it's pretty horrible running when you're overweight. But after you get over that, if you persist, and after you get over the kind of like initial month or so, I mean, you can feel it getting easier because obviously you're getting lighter and you're getting more used to doing it. So, you know, you do get feedback that way. And yeah, I mean, and to be honest, by that point, I'd already told everybody I was going to do it. So in my head, I was in. So there was no way out. So the end result was that either I did it and I was unfit and it was hideous, or I did it and I was fit and it was okay. So that was it. So I opted for the second option, and you know what? That for me that translates into just getting up every day and doing it.
Yeah, yeah, and therefore it was the okay option, and clearly that was the spark then to carry on and blooming heck get so much better. It's amazing.
Oh, do you know what? I was really thrilled with that first marathon. I crossed the line and I was planning my next one. And so I did 5 more, and then I did the first triathlon in 2011.
Wow. And by that point,
Yeah.
had you thought, you know, oh, I'm a bit bored of this running malarkey now, or because you had reached that goal? Because you did a sub 3, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So I did my first one in just under 4, and then it went down to 3:30, and then 3:20, and then 3:04. And I really wanted, at the 3:20 mark, I mean, I was still smoking at that point. Isn't that awful?
Really?
Yeah, I didn't mention that, did I? I always try to avoid mentioning that, but it's probably integral to the story, so I should fess up. Yeah, I mean, so I managed to do 3 marathons at a kind of reasonably quick time without giving up cigarettes. And then but by that point, I was pretty hooked, and I really wanted, everybody was talking about this sub 3. Like it was some mythical thing, you know, and I thought, you know what, I really want to do that. And and I realized at this point that you can get away with plodding along and still, you know, smoking, but you cannot get away with doing a fast marathon if you do that. So then by that point, after my 3rd marathon, I thought, yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to try to do sub 3 in New York. And that was my goal. And so, yeah, so I did. So I trained specifically for that. And I had a coach by this point because I'd entered a competition in Runner's World magazine, which it was called the A6 Super Six, and lots of people were kind of shortlisted and taken down to a track and then selected, and you had to kind of aim for the goal that was in your running kind of time band, if you like. Yeah. But the real thing was that I was given a coach who is just the most magnificent running coach ever. His name is Bud Baldaro, and he's a legend.
Yeah.
And he was luckily for me, he was the coach that was appointed to me. And and he just showed me how to do it, because, the way that I'd been running before was that I would just get up and go out for a run, and I would go a little bit longer and a little bit faster than I had the day before, and I would just do that on repeat.
Yeah.
So I had no idea how to train. And so he helped me do that. And so we both went to New York, and 6 months later, I did a 2:58.
Wow.
So, yes, I was so thrilled. It was just such a good experience.
And at what point had you, so you had quit smoking by the time you were appointed with Bud?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was after Marathon 3.
Yeah.
Because, it was a bit of a standing joke that with Marathon 1, 2, and 3, I kind of famously or infamously had an espresso and a Marlboro Light for my pre-race champion breakfast. I mean, it's ridiculous. When I look back on it, I have no idea how I managed to get through these races in the first place.
Would you have been like wheezing on the line? Like, I don't know.
No, not really, not at all. Well, the thing is, if you're running at a fairly slow pace, you can get away with murder.
Right.
It's just when you have to try to kind of step. Clearly, I wasn't trying hard enough.
And Jane, what did Bud have you do differently? What would a sort of typical 2-3 week period have looked like with him as you were training for that sub-3 marathon?
So the days would be different. So I would do a long run on the weekend, and I would have one day off, which I would never have done normally. And then there would be one fast track session, which, I used to hate that. I mean, to be honest, to this day, it's still not my favourite. I really don't like the oxygen debt, but I know that it's the most important thing that you can do. I mean, I used to say to him all the time, why does it make a difference doing fast 800s? I mean, how is that possibly helping, fast running over a marathon? But do you know what? He was right. And it really does. So that would be one fast session, and then the other fast session would be a decent kind of tempo run.
Yeah.
Whereas everything I used to do before used to be all fairly slow and at the same pace.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. So then we've done the first triathlon. We've talked through that. You loved it, and then you got the bug.
Yeah, I completely got the bug. And then I just decided to do more and more, and I did lots of sprints, to be honest. I mean, unlike running, where I parachuted in at arguably the longest distance, I started with the short distances in triathlon, and I did a few sprints, and then I decided I would do Olympic. And then I kind of just worked my way up. I mean, all of the friends that I used to train with told me from day one that I should stop messing about with the Olympic and sprint distance and do the long distance, because for them it was obvious that I was a longer distance athlete, but I just hadn't worked that out yet. And actually, to be honest, the Ironman distance, scared the devil out of me. I mean, I was just convinced that I couldn't possibly make it, so I was kind of putting that off for as long as possible. I think I knew I'd eventually do it, but I just wasn't quite ready to commit then. So I did do a couple of years with in sprint and mostly Olympic distance.
And you did get on the podium as well, didn't you, at the ETU championships and the Aquathlon Worlds?
Yeah.
So you did have success.
Yeah, I did actually. I did, and it was good, but not nearly as much success as I've had with the longer distance.
No, I do like your profile, Jane, on Blackline London, which says fond of collecting clear perspex and carved wooden fruit bowls.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I should take that down. I don't know if that sounds bad.
No, I like it because I don't. Don't think many other people would have that in a profile. So
Uh, it's funny actually. Do you know it's these Perspex trophies that you get at Ironman races though. I mean it's all Perspex. I don't think I've ever owned as much Perspex and Lycra in my life. I certainly never thought that a few years back.
so
But
how many clear Perspex trophies do you now have?
oh, do you know what? I don't know. I'm not sure. They've cost me a lot of money though. Do you know how much it is to enter Ironman races? They certainly didn't come cheap.
No, no, this is true. So your first Ironman, was it Mallorca? If I got that wrong, was it South Africa?
And no, the first full distance was Switzerland.
Switzerland, and you won your age group by a massive margin.
Yeah, I think it was I think it was something like 20 minutes.
Wow. And so that was 2015?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
So
Yes, it was
what
true.
made you sign up to Ironman Switzerland?
Um, I Well, I wanted to do an Ironman, and I had decided that year would probably be a good time to do it. Um, and I guess it was just the timing.
Yeah.
There was a chart that timing was quite good for me. I had well, actually, I wasn't going to do it. I decided I wasn't quite ready, and I remember saying to Brett, "Oh, I'm not sure about this." And he said, "Listen, just do it, and just do it as a training race." So that was kind of the plan. And then I thought, oh, okay, then I'll just do it as a training race because I really didn't think I was ready. And the only two on that date were, it was Switzerland and Bolton. So there you go. There was my choice. So I picked Switzerland, obviously.
And how did you find it?
Do you know what? I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. The swim was great. Actually, the swim was a shock. I mean, never in a million years did I think that Switzerland would be a non-wetsuit swim, because it just doesn't sound like a warm country, does it? When you're thinking about an Ironman there. Anyway, 5 minutes before the race, they called a non-wetsuit swim, which was the funniest thing I've ever seen, actually, because there was just a visible meltdown. With half the competitors, you'd think that you'd told them they'd have to do it naked or something. So there was a huge big kind of uproar, and
for you were probably like brilliant because you're a strong swimmer.
Oh well, I didn't mind. I mean, to be honest, it never bothers me whether it is or whether it isn't. It makes no difference to me. But on that occasion, I had a two-piece tri-suit, and I just hadn't factored that. So when I got into the water, my bottoms filled up with water.
Oh no.
So I had to swim the entire time with almost like a balloon.
Weighted, yeah.
Yeah, weighted. I had so much water down my pants. But it was okay. And then I got on the bike, and the bike course, it was a 2-lap bike course, which I quite like. It was quite hilly and it was quite scenic. And the run, I wasn't quite sure what would happen. So, I was quite conservative. And, I'm always conservative anyway. I think it comes from marathon running. I take it easy. I mean, I'm perfectly aware of the fact that the race is in the second half of the race, so I will never go off hard. And so by the time I got to the run, it was super hot. I mean, I think it was in the mid-30s that day.
Wow.
And but do you know what? I just kept going because the faster you go, the
sooner it's done.
The sooner it's done, absolutely. So,
did you know, position-wise, where you were? Did you know that you had a big lead?
Oh no, not a clue. Not a clue. I didn't know where I was. I mean, I probably thought I was mid-pack, but I was doing okay, and I was getting no feedback at all. Nobody that I knew was. Well, I did have a few people on the course, but they weren't saying anything. I think I knew I was having a good day because I passed a couple of the pros that I'd been training with actually in San Ritz on the run. So I kind of knew that either they had punctures or they'd had a bad day, or I kind of suspected that I was maybe doing okay.
That's awesome. And do you remember the crossing the finish line?
Oh yeah, it was fabulous. Yeah, it was fabulous. And I remember crossing the finish line thinking, that was unbelievable. You know, I mean, just the whole race experience. I like that in an Ironman because, you know, things can go well, and there are some parts of the race which don't go well, and I quite like that whole aspect of being kind of thrown a little bit of, you know, adversity and having to overcome that. I do quite like that in a race. That's why I've always liked races like the Always Aim High series in Wales, like the Snowman or the Sandman or Escape from Alcatraz, because there's always something happens in the middle of these races that is unexpected and that you kind of have to get over. And I quite like that in a race.
Yeah.
And Ironman delivers that.
And then, so you would have gone to Kona off the back of that, and you finished second, didn't you, in your age group? Did you go there wanting to come away with the age group win?
Oh my goodness me, no, not at all. And do you know, it never even crossed my mind. I mean, my thinking was that I had done one thing. I never research any races or any stats or who's running or who's competing, because I just takes up way too much time. But one thing I did Google was the number of Ironman races that are held globally, and I'd worked out that there were 87 of them. And so I went to Kona thinking, oh, well, there's 86 other girls who have won an Ironman. So they're all quite good. So, I mean, to be honest, I didn't even think that I would come top 10. I mean, I, you know, would have been happy if I'd been 40th or something, you know, because as far as I was concerned, everybody else had won too. You know, it was a different ball game. So I was completely thrilled and amazed. I knew that I was in second as I was coming out of the energy lab, but I didn't realise how far ahead that person was, and I was just completely gobsmacked because I had no idea.
That was amazing. But then I guess so 2015, finishing second, knowing what you had to do to get to that point, you were then like, right, I'm coming back and I'm going to win this damn thing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, you know, after coming second, I thought, ooh. And it's so funny. There's always a bit of joke about the Yumekis, the bowls, because they're a bit like Russian dolls. They're all different sizes, from first place down to fifth place. And the second place one is nice, but you know, it just doesn't fit bananas. And I remember looking at the big bowl thinking, that's a cracker. I'd absolutely want that one.
I just want to be able to put my bananas in a bowl.
Exactly. So yeah, so that was the goal. So I did come away from Kona. I'll admit, I came away from Kona thinking, if I work really hard, then, you know, next year I'll come back and I'll try to win.
So how much harder have you worked this year?
Yeah, I don't think I've worked massively harder, because the beginning of the year was really difficult for me work-wise. I had quite a few changes of staff. We won quite a lot more new clients. So I was super busy. And unlike the year before, I went on 0 training camps. But what I did do quite well, I think, was consistency. So I didn't really change that much, to be honest, from the year before. I just tried to be as consistent as possible. And so I think I might have even done a bit less. But I think I probably trained a bit smarter because I realised what I had to do. So I did these key sessions and I worked on my weaknesses, which I historically thought were the bike. Well, thought was the bike. Yeah. So I did a lot more turbo sessions. Yeah.
And it's Brett Sutton, isn't it, your coach? So when did you first join up with Brett?
That would have been 2015. So the year of Switzerland. Yeah.
Okay. And did you approach him and say, hey, I want you to coach me, or how did that come about? Yeah,
so I had met him on a previous trip of mine to Lanzarote, and I knew who he was, and I went over and I said hello, and we had a chat, yeah, and I persuaded him to coach me. I mean, he doesn't coach age group athletes a lot, so I'm told now that I was very persuasive. I think I really twisted his arm, but I'm glad I did because, you know, he's the best, in my opinion, he's the best coach in the world. There's nobody that has the results that he has got, and he's amazingly knowledgeable.
And what changes, Jane, did he make to what you were doing? I imagine straight away, did it completely alter?
Yeah, definitely. Almost everything. So he changed my swim stroke. He changed the way that I rode my bike. I mean, everything was just a little bit too fast. Like cadence wise, I mean, I would sit on the bike and spin so fast that, he used to laugh. He used to say, "Stop spinning so fast, otherwise you'll take off." And I had no idea because I had previously been told that this was a good thing. Cyclists always told me that you had to have a high cadence. But of course, we're not cycling, we're riding a bike in the middle of a triathlon. And I think that's probably the main difference, because I would historically swim with swimmers, bike with bikers, and run with runners,
Yeah.
and approach all of these three sports separately. Which I quite like, because if you do it that way, then you're always going to be training with people who are better than you, and I like that. I don't want to be the best in any group. I want to be, halfway down the pack. So there's always something to work towards. But it is important to consider both these three disciplines together as one entirety, because that is what the Ironman is. I mean, it's no point being great at swimming and great at biking if you can't then execute the run properly. So I guess I just started thinking about it differently in that respect. I did a lot more big gear work on the bike. I changed my swim stroke so that I would be generally stronger, and I didn't really change that much on the run, to be honest. Mostly the swim and the bike.
Do you have a fantastic relationship with Brett, or are there some days where he's telling you something, and I've heard some people say, or maybe in Chrissy Wellington's book or something like that, he said to her, "I'm going to have to chop your head off," because I think because of the different characters.
No, I've got a fantastic relationship with him. I think he's wonderful, and to be honest, that's his job. He knows exactly what he's doing, and I'm happy to take advice on that front. I mean, to be honest, I'm way too busy doing work.
Yeah.
And I have a limited amount of time per day, and I need to make it count. And if he's telling me something, if he's telling me to do a particular session, then do you know what? I'll just go and do it, because why on earth would I question that? I mean, I don't know better than him. He's the man with the stable of all of the Olympic champs. He knows what he's doing.
And has he taught you about the importance of rest as well?
I don't know. I guess so. I think what he's taught me is the importance of spacing sessions out.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I had a busy day, say I had 2 sessions to do in the day, and it was an hour's run and an hour and a half swim, I would look at that, and then I would look at my schedule, and then I would think, I've got meetings from 9 till 6, and then I've got an evening meeting, and the only way that I can fit this in is to get up early, do the run between 5 and 6, do the swim between 6 and half 7, and then get ready and get to my first meeting on time. And so I would do that. I would try to cram it all in, like I was cramming for an exam, but actually that is not the way to do it. You're supposed to have rest after each session, so you're supposed to kind of give yourself a fighting chance of making each session count. So if I was then looking at that now, I would think I would do the run in the morning, then I'd do the swim in the evening, or I'd give a decent amount of time between each session. So from that perspective, yeah, he has.
I think that's a really good point, because I think as all of us as age groupers, the balance between our time and what we dedicate to each different part of our life, it's that real tricky balance to find, isn't it? So if that is good advice, to spread it out perhaps, and actually have that big chunk of the day when most people are working almost as a bit of recovery, and then you're good to go again later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the key difference between the pros and the age groupers. And I've been lucky enough to be able to train with a lot of pros, and I think that's the real advantage, because they don't have a job, so they can space the day out. So they can do a session in the morning, then they can go back and then they can have a sleep, or they can eat and then they have a sleep, and then they'll approach the next session. And so whilst I'm not necessarily sleeping, I'm sitting at a desk or I'm on the phone, I do try to give my body a little bit of a rest before I then do the next session.
Yeah.
Even if my mind hasn't been rested.
Even if the mind's like, oh, work. So Jane, how on earth do you fit it all in? Because you're the director of your marketing company. You won your age group at Kona this year. You are clearly an amazingly talented athlete as well. How do you fit it all in?
Do you know, I just get up early. I do that. I mean, I get up early and I don't have a massive social life anymore.
None of the drinking with clients in the evenings now.
Oh no, absolutely not. So if there's an evening event, I'll persuade. The rest of the guys will go. So some of my other staff will go, or alternatively, if it's a client meeting, then I'll make it a breakfast or a lunch meeting. So yeah, so I fit it in because I get up early. I try to, I mean, I can nip off at lunchtime and do an hour's run at lunch. I can be fairly flexible. I mean, I'll often work until 10 o'clock at night, but I really don't mind opening my laptop and sending a few emails at 10:30. So my hours can be quite flexible that way, and I'll make sure I get all the work done and get the training in. I mean, I think if you just realize or make a deal with yourself that the training has to be done, so it has to be fitted in somehow, then, it happens.
I love it. So would that be your tip, Jane?
Yeah, absolutely. That and plan ahead. Yeah, I mean, I am a planner. So the night before, the next day, I will have if I'm going to be swimming, I'll have my stuff ready. I'll maybe have made a packed lunch, or, I'll have just prepared for the day ahead. I'll know what I'm going to do and I'll know when I'm going to do it. And it's important to do that because then otherwise, I just wouldn't make it time-wise, and things would fall by the wayside.
Yeah. It's a woman after my own heart, Jane. I am like Tupperware queen in the evenings.
I know, absolutely. But it's important because, if you don't prepare, I mean, I like to remove barriers, so I like to have my stuff ready. So when the alarm goes off at silly o'clock, it's easy to pull on your clothes and to be dressed and out the door before you've actually realised that this was a daft idea. And again with lunch, it's good to prepare the night before because then otherwise you'll just revert to eating,
not such good
stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm with you. I am so with you. So Jane, you won Kona this year. What on earth was that like?
Fabulous. It all happened so quickly because I was really busy working out in Kona. We look after Cervelo, and part of my job, not initially because I was always going to Kona, but then my job was to launch and amplify their new super tri bike, which was being launched on the 4th in Kona. So there was a lot of stuff happening around that date, and I had spent the first week just basically working on that, both in Kona and amplifying that to all of the press in the UK after the launch on the 4th. So. And not only that, we made a 30-minute TV program for the Bike Channel about the bike, which happened, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. So it was only really until the film crew left on the evening of the 5th and all of the UK press had been done that I kind of really started to think about the race. So the whole time was just, it was, to be honest, it was a bit of a blur. And I do remember thinking that I needed to get some sleep. I mean, I remember going to bed super early on the night of the 5th because I was just so exhausted. And it was a shame, actually. I really like that underpants run. I think it's a real laugh. And everybody else was doing it, but I just decided that I couldn't. I mean, I went to bed at 9 o'clock that night, and I woke up at 9 the next day. I woke up 12 hours later because I was exhausted. But I do remember thinking, unless I have a good night's sleep, I'm not going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
I really felt like I was burning the candle at both ends.
It's a completely different preparation, physically and mentally.
Oh, completely. I mean, in a way, I didn't really have enough time to think about the race, but to be honest, I probably wouldn't have done anyway. But I'm always busy anyway, so it was fine. I did get my training kind of done in the run up to Kona, and if anything, do you know what? That if you miss a few sessions that week, it's not the end of the world, because you're not going to affect the race by that point anyway. So it was it was a bit crazy. It was funny actually though, because I was at the swim start. I hadn't even looked at the swim course, so I got into the water,
Really?
and the only thing I hadn't actually thought about was where I was going to start. And I remember saying to the girl behind me, "So do you keep the boys on your left, right? You keep your boys on," and then she said, "No, you keep the boys on your right." I mean, that's how badly prepared I was. Because I'd done the race before, I thought, I know what I'm doing. I can't get lost on this bike course. But the swim start was one thing I hadn't considered, and I decided to start front center, which was just the worst decision ever, because I totally got swum over.
Washing machine.
It was just bonkers. But yeah, that was a direct result of me actually just not having time to think about the race at all.
Mm. And Jane, when you finally stood on that stage with your banana bowl, big enough to fit the bananas in, how proud were you?
I was really pleased. I mean, I was so super chuffed. I was trying to, although that had been a goal for the year, and every day, I would get up and train. I hadn't really thought about it. I just kind of did it. And on race day, I guess all the work that I was doing was good, because it stopped me thinking about the race, because I think it's important to think of Kona as just being another race, because people can really wind themselves up over the kind of prep and the importance of it all. But at the end of the day, I personally I was pleased, because although I was hoping for a good result, you never know, and there's so much that can go wrong, and mechanical issues, and actually even problems in the race. Kona seems to be one of those places that often gets the better of people. So I was just thrilled that everything kind of went according to plan.
And were you more thrilled with your Kona winning the age group than nailing a 9:38 at Roth this year?
Oh, God, that's a good question. I don't know. I was really pleased to do 9:38 at Roth, because I just never in a million years imagined that I would be able to go that fast. I mean, in Roth, when I got on the bike, my Garmin didn't work. I'd forgotten to charge it up. God, that's such an idiot. And so I did the whole race blind. And as I was running, I remember running really fast. And I was thinking, if I run really fast, I might be able to break sub 10 here. So I had no idea. It was at 9:38. So I was absolutely utterly thrilled. So I don't know. It's funny. I guess they're on a par. But I mean, I suppose the Kona one should probably count for more, given the fact it's it's such a big race.
And will you be going back to both next year, or what are your hopes for next year?
Wow. I don't know. I really don't know. Everybody's asked me that, and I haven't even thought about it. It's funny, none of this is kind of really sunk in, actually, because after I came back from Kona, I had that TV program edit to do, and then I had to go off to another country to pitch for their PR account, and I've been pretty flat out. I've been pretty flat out since. So, I'm not sure. I mean, I would like to. Roth's an amazing race, but there's probably other amazing races that I haven't been to or done. Well, there are loads of them. So, and I do like going to different places.
Yeah.
And I've been to Kona twice now. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to go back, I guess, but I just, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Are you happy with your Perspex collection at the moment?
Yeah, I am. I am, definitely.
Do you ever think now, I wish I'd got into this, my early 20s, what could I have done?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would have loved to. Yeah, yeah, I do, because I think that I would have, you know, really knuckled down and gone for it. But you know what? You can't do that, can you? I mean, I don't have any regrets in life, and there's no point in looking backward. Um, yeah, exactly. I'm just thrilled that I found this sport when I did, and that I can, you know, compete. I love to train. I love to. I like to be honest. I like the training as much as I like the racing. So I like to kind of have a purpose. I like to get up and I train every day, and I'm fitter than I've ever been. And I just think that I'm lucky to be able to go and race in these great destinations. So yeah, so I'm just thrilled. Yeah, I mean, it's all about kind of like, I'm thankful for being able to do this. So yeah, so whilst, sometimes you can think, well, what if I started then, and wouldn't it have been great? Yeah, it probably would have been great, but you never know. And I love my life at the moment. I think that this is the best sport in the world, and I'm just thrilled that I can keep doing it every day.
Fantastic. Jane, you've been an absolute star. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh no, it's a pleasure. I've loved it.
Brilliant stuff. Can you imagine if you could go back in the TARDIS and interview her when she was smoking and drinking in a bar with clients 10 or 15 years ago?
Saying, so what do you want to be doing in a few years' time?
Yeah, did you know
Jane,
you're
I've
about
got
to
an
be world
idea. Do
champion?
an Ironman.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea that someone has got within them this seed of something that they've got no idea about, and they can be absolutely fantastic at it.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really good. What a good interview she is.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed speaking to Jane. So I think, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what she does next year as well.
Yeah.
After going so fast in Roth last year and having the success in Kona, be cool.
Yeah, see where she goes next. And we've got an interview lined up hopefully for next week with her Team Free Speed teammate Andy Greenleaf. So watch this space. Hopefully next week, if not one of the weeks afterwards. Right, let's head to news for this week. We've got some news sponsored by Chia Charge. If you fancy winning yourself a box of Chia Charge flapjacks, 3 flavours worth 32 quid, go to chiacharge.co.uk/blog/cup of try, and all you've got to do is enter your email address to be entered into the free prize draw to win a box of frankly very delicious flapjacks indeed.
You have one and then you just want the rest.
It's not good, is it?
No.
Oh dear.
Very tasty.
They're only healthy in small amounts. That's why they come like in small amounts, isn't it? If they were like, the size of a flapjack from the co-op, I'd be in big trouble. I'd be 14 stone.
Correct. Thankfully, they're not.
Right, first piece of news this week that I'll be more excited about than you, Helen, I think, is the new Zip 454 NSW Sawtooth wheel.
Tell me about them. They look kind of cool, and I think they're based on sharks or something, aren't they?
Yes, they've kind of gone with this. It's almost like a mid-depth rim, and I think the idea of it is they're trying to address the idea of stability in crosswinds. So they've you have to see a picture of them for it to make any sense, but it looks like a sawtooth edge between the spokes. So rather than it being completely round on the inside, they're kind of jaggedy. And what they reckon is that they've managed to massively stabilise these wheels in crosswinds, and as a byproduct of this have made them even more aerodynamic as well. So they reckon they're their lowest drag wheel, as well as being more stable in crosswinds. And they look bloody cool.
They do look very cool.
Don't they?
Yes.
I think they almost look like how Zip wheels look on Zwift. If you unlock a set of Zip wheels on Zwift, they look kind of jaggedy with the rendering of the graphics. And I was like, oh wow, look at that. When you see the video of them on the website, they look like the wheels do in Zwift, which is really cool.
Yeah, they're quite affordable, aren't they?
Well, this is the step back, isn't it? $3,500 for a wheel set. If you want the best, you've got to pay for them. It's worth more than my car, that hells.
Oh, it's worth like double my car.
Well, that's the traditional like mark of a serious triathlete, isn't it? When you own your bike. No, you own your car and you make payments on your bike and your race wheels.
Yeah. Yep. It's just, yeah, lots of dosh. But hey, if you've got it and you can afford it, well, there you go.
Why not?
Go for it. And
Let
you'll
us
look
know.
very, very
Give us a
cool.
tweet if you have bought yourself a pair of these. We want to know which of our first listeners will be the first person to send us. Send us a picture of yourself with your NSW 454s if you buy a set.
It won't be me.
It won't be you and me, Helen, that's for sure. Unless they want to send us a pair to test. If anyone from Zip's listening, we can wish, can't we?
They'd look rubbish though. I haven't even got the bike for them to look. Well, I do have a very nice bike, but you know.
Yeah, you do. You've
need,
got a
like,
lovely
and
race
I
bike.
have a very nice bike, but can you imagine? Just you'd almost need like a blooming one of the Pinarello ridiculous $9,000 bikes for them to, you know. You may as well just splash out on everything.
Hells, those wheels will look brilliant on your race bike, on that Argon 18 of yours. Don't get any ideas.
Oh, it's all right. There's no way I'm going to be spending £3,500 on a pair of wheels. Sorry.
Maybe Rich has got them lined up for your Christmas present.
I doubt it.
Sorry, Rich.
I doubt it. Rob, should we move on to the other bit of news?
Let's do it. Bit sad,
Okay.
this, isn't it, really?
Well, yeah. Now, this happened just after we recorded last week's show. It kind of came out that Ironman Weymouth, the full distance, is no longer for next year.
Yeah, no Ironman Weymouth next year. Only 70.3 Weymouth.
Yep, and I think it was primarily due to the disruption that it caused to traffic. I read somewhere that it took people 3 hours to make a 4-mile journey.
You know what, though? If you're making a 4-mile journey, get on your bike and ride it. It's only on for one day every year. You saddos who live in Weymouth. And now you've had your race cancelled.
Wow. Yeah, but they're going to stick with the 70.3.
Yeah, I'm glad about that, but I think it's a real shame when lack of support from people. What a brilliant event to have in your area and then to have it cancelled because of like perceived traffic problems.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Really sad.
Yep. And you look at somewhere like Tenby, whereby the whole of Pembrokeshire pretty much embraces that race.
Yeah, exactly. The whole of the area is closed down for that race, isn't it? And yet everyone goes mental and stands on the edge of their driveway and cheers people on all day. So, yeah, real shame. I'm a bit sad about that. I think Weymouth had a potential, especially with it being the Olympic venue, to be a really, really world-class Ironman venue. What a shame.
Mm. Cool course as well. Really, really stunning, beautiful part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was traditionally the first Ironman UK course. It used part of that as well, didn't it? So it's sad to see that go. But it raises the question whether that means we've got an announcement in the pipeline in terms of another race somewhere.
I was thinking that.
Yeah. I've not heard any rumours yet, but if any listeners have heard rumours, will you send us a tweet through? See what you've heard.
Yeah, heard on the grapevine.
Let's see what they've found out, hey? All right, Hells, that brings us to the end of this week's show, doesn't it?
I think it does, yes.
What have you got lined up for your training this week?
Bit of... guess what?
Go on.
Swim, bike and run. No, I'm also going to be doing, I think, might go a little bit freestyle to the plan in that there's some street orienteering going on locally. So I might go and do a street orienteering event because I've never done it before.
I'm in for that as well.
It's winter time. It's all about keeping it fun, isn't it?
Yeah, let's do that. Tomorrow night, isn't it? As we're recording. Yeah.
Yep.
Brilliant fun.
So a bit of street orienteering, and then I do believe there's a cross-country. It's again cross-country weekend this weekend. So I might be tempted.
Yeah, you just take it easy, kiddo. We'll talk about that in a minute when we're off air, before you go breaking yourself.
Yeah. So other than that, swim, bike, run, bit of gym, and bit of orienteering.
Good. Boom. Good to hear. I've got my bike on the turbo staring at me from the corner of the studio. So that's it for me. It's November. I'm back on it.
Turbo time. Yeah, there will be turbo. Turbo is needs to be sorted. I've done a turbo or two. Love it. I just need to sort out my heart rate monitor because, quite frankly, there's nobody's getting any data at the moment because my heart rate monitor's not picking anything up.
Yeah, you get that sorted for us, hey?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. You've been listening to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And until next week, I hope everyone has a great, safe training and racing week. We'll talk to you again in a week's time when hopefully we'll have an interview with Andy Greenleaf. Take care, everyone.